Welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Alexis Ware. In this week's news, Oxford grad works with cheetahs in Africa, an open house draws crowd to new senior center, and a reminder for folks using trail crossings.
Stay tuned, learn more about these stories and others. The Oxford News begins right now. Eight years later, some people are still confused about what to do when they encounter the pedestrian crossing signals where the Pollyant Trail intersects West Burdick Street and West Drainer Road. In light of this, officials are reminding people to obey the laws applying to these crosswalks and urging motorists and pedestrians to exercise caution. They should use common sense. In 2011, the Village of Oxford had 2 beacons installed at traffic intersections. Yellow LED lights flash for 15 seconds, warning motorists that they are approaching a pedestrian crossing. Pedestrians manually activate these solar-powered signals by pushing a button. However, activating these beacons do not give trail users or other pedestrians the right to automatically begin crossing the road. Common sense and safety must prevail in crossing any highway. Oxford Village Police Chief Mike Solwald says trail users and other pedestrians need to stop and look both ways before crossing the roadway. Good advice.
A 19-year-old Metamora woman was killed in a single-vehicle car crash on Oakwood Road in Oxford Township at 10 p.m. on August 21st. According to the Oakland County Sheriff's Office, Kiara Bell Obzerd was driving a 2018 BMW headed east on Oakwood Road when she lost control of her vehicle. Obzerd's vehicle left the roadway and struck a large tree, causing the BMW to overturn and come to a rest on its side. The Oxford Fire Department had to exert Obzerd from her vehicle. She was later pronounced dead at the scene. According to the Sheriff's Office, she was wearing her seat belt and the vehicle's airbags did deploy. The crash remains under investigation.
Thanks to a local nonprofit group, some Oxford and Lake Orion students are starting the new school year with tools necessary to help them succeed academically. On Friday, Oxford Orion Fish distributed brand new backpacks containing a variety of school supplies to over 100 students from local low-income families. Also on Monday, an additional 30 backpacks were handed out. Friday's recipients included over 30 elementary students, 30 middle school students, and nearly 30 high school students. Distribution consisted of residents from both Oxford and Lake Orion.
A 2018 Oxford High School graduate spent some time in Africa this summer working with and learning about cheetahs. For 2 weeks, 18-year-old Jordan Hughes volunteered at Ferrocure Wildlife Center, a reserve located in a town called Bella Bella in South Africa's Limpopo province, where she worked with and cared for cheetahs. She fed, weighed, measured, administered vaccinations, and watched medical procedures performed by veterinarians. Hughes is majoring in animal science with a pre-vet concentration. Hughes traveled to South Africa as part of a Loop Abroad, a study abroad organization offering animal science and vet programs for students and young adults aged 14 to 30. Programs range in length from 2 weeks during the summer to a full semester abroad.
Local citizens flocked to Oxford Township's new senior center and Seymour Lake Park on August 20th for an open house and ribbon cutting ceremony. According to Dawn Medici, recreation specialist and senior coordinator, 150 of the 175 guest bags donated by Health Quest Physical Therapy and St. Joseph Mercy Oakland Hospital were distributed at the door. Parks and Recreation Director Ron Davis urged seniors in attendance to provide input regarding the center. Davis told the crowd his staff wants to hear their concerns, ideas, suggestions, and questions that they may have. Before cutting the ribbon, Davis took an opportunity to once again thank everyone who supported the Parks and Recreation millage proposal in the August 6th special election. The 10-year, 1 mil operating tax allows the department to continue operating.
In a house on Lakeville Lake, Addison Township resident John Barzik honored his pledge to his wife Joyce, who celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary on August 30th. Unfortunately, Joyce was not aware of the significant milestone because John's wife is in the advanced stages of Alzheimer's disease. She was diagnosed with it in late 2011 and now requires consistent supervision. John is her primary caregiver. He sees to her every need around the clock, with one exception. For 3 hours a day, someone comes in to give him a break. John admits the situation can be quite overwhelming, and it's torturous to see her the way she is now. Even though their 50th anniversary isn't going to be a picture-perfect occasion, John still feels very lucky to have built such a wonderful life and shared so many good years with the woman he loves.
The annual horse show and open house was recently held at the Banbury Cross Therapeutic Equestrian Center in Metamora Township. Founded in 1991, Banbury Cross uses therapeutic horseback riding to help students with special needs and challenges to grow physically, cognitively, emotionally, spiritually, and educationally and socially. The organization often works with students from Oxford. A total of 63 riders, horses, and about 40 volunteers participate in the show. Riders ranged in age from 3 to mid-50s. Executive Director Jessica Moore's favorite part of the event is watching how students react to having Banbury's horses dressed up to fit each year's theme. This year, the theme was Disney characters. Moore says it's just like so much fun to see their faces when they see their own usual horse dressed up like Mickey Mouse or Tinkerbell. Well, that's interesting.
Homegrown Brewing Company is inviting folks to learn more about the local vendors who supply ingredients for their beers and menu items by attending a party on its outdoor patio. On Thursday, September 5th, the Craft Brewery in downtown Oxford will host the Source Farmers Festival. The event will run from 5 until 9. Admission is free and open to all ages. There will be free samples, giveaways, a petting zoo, and live music. According to Jeff Powers, Homegrown's general manager, the festival is a celebration of the local businesses and farms the craft brewery and restaurant rely upon.
A downtown Oxford business is helping local students go back to school with everything that they need to tackle those classroom assignments. Recently, a group of kids assembled in front of the Funky Monkey Toys to fill 40 new backpacks with school supplies. The backpacks were given to Oxford Orient Fish, a local nonprofit group that works to help low-income families. Every child who helped fill the backpacks received a $5 gift certificate to the toy store. That's nice, huh?
That is. I love how every year, especially at the beginning of the school year and a little while after, everyone comes together and donate and help with whatever they can.
They do. And I just mentioned earlier, you know, that the fire department is very active, you know, with gifts for children around Christmas time.
They are, and it's closer than we think. Summer is almost officially over.
It's, I tell you, a real harmonized, great community that we live in Oxford. Gotta tell you.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to mention too is it is school time. Of course, kids are going back to school. You folks out there driving your vehicles, be very careful, cognizant of the buses. When the buses stop, the flashing lights, do not pass the bus. Stop. Small children on the bus can be endangered, you know, by not heeding, you know, the emergency lights that are on the vehicle.
Right, or even students walking home, because a lot of elementary school and middle school students walk home as well. Not everyone's on the bus.
Absolutely. And be aware, children, of your surroundings as you're walking home also. Just know that it's not a kinder, nicer nation as it used to be when I was a young child, but be very careful. If somebody should approach you, scream and run towards the nearest house, you know, for assistance.
Absolutely. Keep that in mind as the school year continues. And that's Oxford News for this week. If you would like to learn more about these stories and others, you can pick up a copy of the Oxford Leader, or better yet, you can catch us on our website at OCCTV.org, on YouTube, and of course, your regular cable channel Spectrum 191 or AT&T Channel 99.
Coming up soon, OCTV's very own Cody Wright with school sports. Then watch out for school news and schooling around, incorporating great topics with Alexis Ware. And you won't want to miss Auto Talk and Science in the News with Dave Kinney.
I'm Alexis Ware. Thanks for watching Oxford News This Week.
And I'm Elgin Nichols. Remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors, and thanks for watching.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication New Scientist. In our first story, miniature brains grown in a lab exhibit remarkably similar activity to preterm babies' brains. This dispels the idea that human brains need to develop in a womb or be connected to other organs to function. Scientists have long been trying to grow realistic models of human brains to better understand how our brains work and make it easier to test new treatments for neurological disorders. However, until now, it was assumed that these models wouldn't be able to recreate sophisticated connections found in real brains. We previously assumed that the human brain needs some input from other organs and from the mother's uterus to thrive, says Alison Miotri at the University of California in San Diego. Miotri and his colleagues developed a new way of making brain models from pluripotent stem cells. They added special growth factors and other chemicals to make the stem cells grow into various brain cell types and then spontaneously assembled into brain-like structures. Each artificial brain grew to about 0.5 centimeter in diameter over a period of 10 months. Using tiny electrodes to measure electrical activity, the researchers found that they began producing simple brain waves at about 2 months. Over time, these brain waves became more complex, suggesting the individual brain cells were starting to communicate with each other and form networks. The researchers found that the way these brain waves evolved resembles the early development of real human brains. The brain wave patterns developed in a similar way over time to those of 39 preterm babies born between 28 weeks of gestation who were monitored with an electroencephalogram brain recordings. The mini brains are the first models to display human-like brain activity. However, it's unlikely they have consciousness or can perform complex mental activities, says Miotri. His team is now testing whether they can learn very basic tasks. Our first experiment is to know if the networks can change upon a stimulus, says Miotri. If they do, we are on the right track. Wow. And our next story, Starhopper has hopped. On August 27th, SpaceX's Stubby spacecraft made its highest and longest flight yet from the firm's Texas launch pad. The spacecraft last test in July took it just about 18 meters into the air, but this test, it was planned to fly 150 meters up, hover, and move sideways before gently landing on a nearby landing pad. SpaceX has not confirmed whether Starhopper reached the full 150-meter altitude, but the flight was clearly far higher than the previous test. It lasted only 1 minute from launch to landing. After the space test flight, SpaceX CEO Elon Musk tweeted, "One day Starship will land on the rusty sands of Mars." Starhopper is a prototype of SpaceX's planned Starship spacecraft, which Musk has said the firm will use to send humans to Mars. Starship will be much larger than Starhopper, with 6 engines compared to the prototype's single one. This test was Starhopper's last. 2 teams in Texas and Florida are building bigger prototypes that are more similar to Starship, with 3 engines each and more robust landing gear. When those are finished, their test flights are planned to take them as high as 20 kilometers. Keep it up. In our last story, drinking red wine may be better for your microbiome than drinking other types of alcohol, according to a study of 3,000 people. Caroline Leroy and colleagues at King's College in London found that red wine drinkers had a greater diversity of bacteria living in their guts compared to people who drank beer, cider, white wine, or spirits. The team found that this held true even when the age, wealth, diet, and socioeconomic status of the participants were taken into account. Having a diverse mix of gut microbes, that is, rather than just a few dominant strains, is thought to be good for your health. The team think red wine drinkers may have more of a mix of microbes than other drinkers because of polyphenols, defense chemicals in red wine that act as antioxidants. The findings may partly explain why red wine is linked to heart health, says Leroy. Drinking red wine rarely, such as once or every 2 weeks, seems to be enough to observe an effect in gut microbiota, she says. But this doesn't put red wine in the clear. No doctor would recommend drinking on medical grounds, as any potential benefits of red wine polyphenols should be considered alongside alcohol's links to over 200 health conditions, including heart disease and cancer, says Sadie Boniface at the Institute of Alcohol Studies, a UK charity. Polyphenols are also available from a wide range of other foods besides red wine, says Boniface. So make your decision. Well, that's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and stay tuned to Oxford Community Television.
If you're interested in sponsoring a show for OCTV, please give us a call at 248-628-9658 and we'll air a promotional video for your local business.
Hello everyone and welcome back to School News. I'm Alexis Ware. It's officially the month of September and summer is partially over, with this being the second week since school let in. School events and activities are scarce, with both teachers and students getting back into the swing of things for a long year ahead. Now that Labor Day weekend has passed, Oxford schools are getting into their curriculum nights and PTO meetings. The first one is actually next week on Thursday, September 12th at Oxford Middle School. So parents, if you're interested in attending that Parent-Teacher Association meeting for the middle school, be prompt at 7 p.m. in the OMS Media Center. This week, all elementary schools are holding their curriculum nights on separate days of the week, so check with the individual school or log on to oxfordcommunityschools.org. Be on the lookout for tons of student guests and hosts in the coming weeks. If you know of a student who would like to be on the show or have a cool show idea, email us at manager@occtv.org with their name, grade, and school. Also, don't be afraid to stop by and chat with us on 2795 Seymour Lake Road. Everyone's welcome to come by. Speaking of student hosts, our very first, Ben of Oxford High School, will be on the show next week. Take a look at some of the amazing work he does at the Senior Center. But I am here with Ben. Ben, can you tell us what your booth is all about?
I am offering tech help to the Senior Center the first and third Thursdays of each month. So really miscellaneous questions with technology and anything, I'm happy to help.
Okay. And you're still a college, or not a college, but a high school student yourself, so you know what these students are looking at every day, what their homework looks like.
Yeah.
And what was the inspiration behind making Tech Help with Ben?
So I actually ran a tech camp helping little kids this summer, and so I noticed there was a lot of simple questions, and I saw the new Senior Center opening in the paper, and I thought, well, there's a good opportunity for kind of a gap that needed to be filled with senior tech, and since I have all that experience helping out kids and stuff, I figured I would be a good person to help out at the new Senior Center.
Absolutely, but I mean, this thought to have a tutoring session almost had to come from somewhere. So where did that come from? Were you in tutoring yourself?
Well, I did help teach a lot of the stuff to kids earlier, so there was a lot of that, but also I am not a tutor myself. I haven't done any of the tutoring stuff, but there are a couple programs that have been set up similar, and I really like them. I didn't follow the model exactly. I kind of adapted it my own way, but I thought it was kind of a hole that needed to be filled.
So it's clear that you have tons of experience teaching students how to, further their tech skills. What kind of classes have prepared you to teach?
So I took some coding classes when I was younger, and I know a couple languages of code, but that's not as helpful when it comes to just the basic tech help. So I think my best experience with that has been just being a kind of growing up in the generation of so much technology. It's given me a lot of experience on how to get everything to work, and so I hope to kind of make that more accessible to an older generation.
That was Ben. Look for him on next week's show, where he'll be talking more about his work with the seniors as well as the help he offers to students. But that does it for this week. Up next is Cody Wright with School Sports.
What's going on, Wildcat fans? Cody Wright back here now with the Sports Report. This last month I've been away. I've been out on vacation, and I've missed you guys while I was gone, along with Rod Wright. Station manager Bill Service and super sub Becky Banis took over for us and covered our last Parks and Rec games here at Seymour Lake Park. Check them out on YouTube as soon as I got back, and they did a great job, and that's exactly what you should do. Go check them out. Senior softball taking on Birmingham, one of our favorite matchups. Some 13 and under softball games. It's all right there for you to check out on YouTube. It has been a great summer for our sports here at Oxford, but I gotta say I'm ready to move on and get into our high school fall season. A lot of you might not be on my side. Summer is a favorite, but the lineup for fall sports is a crowd favorite. We got boys and girls cross country, soccer, tennis, and girls golf, swim, and cheer. Volleyball, and then of course it's football season. I'll tell you, after last year's season, the boys football team really played well right into the playoffs, showcasing a great run. I just can't wait to see what we have in store this year. A few weeks back, Oxford High School held a Meet the Teams night to kick it all off at the stadium. What a great way to get both the players and the fans ramped up as we kick off another high school sports season. This last week, the boys tennis team kicked off their season on a very high note, sweeping Goodrich 8-0. The boys tennis team has stacked up this year to be one to remember. Of the 12 guys on the varsity roster, 6 of them are seniors. Needless to say, this year the boys have their sights set on a division title. The boys soccer team also had a preseason action, both varsity and JV taking on Lakeland. JV fell 1-0, however, varsity absolutely pummeled them 5-0. I know it's early, but a 5-0 score in soccer is quite a deficit, and pulling that out in a season opener is a great sign for the season. And lastly, it is football season. By the time this airs, the boys will have kicked off their fall season on the road, taking on Romeo. Last year was a great year for Oxford football. I've said it before, and we sure are excited to get this year started. We'll report next week on the outcome of the Romeo game and the upcoming home opener that will follow. For any more info on the upcoming season, go to oxfordathletics.org. There are plenty of inside stories, rosters, and newly released schedules for you to check out. It's all right there. That is oxfordathletics.org. While you're at it, might as well check us out at occtv.org. All of our coverage of the summer leagues, as well as many more programs we put together for the community, can be found on our YouTube page, which you can access through the website. Once again, that is occtv.org. I want to thank you all for watching and remind you all to tune in next time. But until then, I'm Cody Wright. Go Wildcats.
Do you love local sports? Whether it's Oxford High School or Parks and Rec, you can buy copies of each game. To purchase your copy, call us at 248-628-9658 or give us an email at manager@occtv.org or talk to us at the next game. Hopefully we'll see you there.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication Automotive News. In our first story, General Motors now employs fewer union-represented American workers than its domestic rivals for the first time since the UAW started organizing Detroit's car makers 8 decades ago. GM's 46,000 UAW workers trails Ford Motor Company by about 9,000 and Fiat Chrysler automobiles by roughly 1,200, according to headcounts provided by the companies as reported by Automotive News in August. Ford surpassed GM in 2014 and Fiat Chrysler overtook the number 2 spot this year. GM's fall to 3rd place is a dubious distinction for a company that's been criticized by America First President Donald Trump. The company is also negotiating a new labor contract this year with the UAW leaders who have vowed a take-no-prisoners approach to bargaining after an embarrassing corruption scandal. GM was once the largest private sector employer in the U.S. Former GM President Charles Wilson famously said in the 1950s that what was good for our country was good for General Motors and vice versa. But in the recent decades, GM has downsized its domestic factory network and increased production in markets including China and Mexico. GM was historically the largest by far, said Ron Harbour, Senior Vice President overseeing global automotive manufacturing for consultant Oliver Wyman. But they cut a lot of plants in the U.S. during bankruptcy. They have a quarter of the plants they had in the 1970s. The issue of employment has dogged GM this year. The company has closed its car plant in Lordstown, Ohio, and stopped transmission output at a factory here in Warren, and 2 other U.S. plants are at risk for being shut down. The restructuring drew the ire of Trump and Democratic primary frontrunner Joe Biden and is a focal point for the UAW in talks for a new 4-year labor deal. GM has also taken heat from the union for the company's decision to build high-margin vehicles such as the Chevrolet Blazer crossover in Mexico. The The start of production of that vehicle last year helped GM overtake Japan's Nissan Motor Company as Mexico's top car maker, according to Automotive News. The union is expected to press for additional investment in U.S. plants and job security guarantees for American workers. During an event at GM's Orion plant in March, Terry Dietz, the vice president overseeing the union's GM department, vowed to fight to keep jobs for workers in Lordstown and other factories marked for possible closure. GM has also offered all the 2,800 union workers at the plants at risk of closing a job in another U.S. factory. The company is aiming for a deal with the UAW that won't destabilize its operations as global sales slow. And on the recall front, Volkswagen Group says it's recalling 679,000 U.S. vehicles sold since 2011 that could roll away because of an electrical issue. The automaker said drivers could remove the key after stopping without placing the car in park, which increases the risk of the vehicle could roll away. GM, or that is to say VW, said a buildup of silicate in the shift lever micro switch contacts is to blame. Dealers will install an additional switch and circuit board and disable a micro switch. A Volkswagen spokesman said there are no reports of injuries and the recall covers the Jetta, Beetle, Beetle convertible, Golf, Sportwagen, and GTI from various model years from 2011 to 2019. And Toyota Motor Company is recalling 135,000 vehicles in the U.S. that received airbag replacements as part of a previous Takata airbag inflator recall. The automaker announced August 28th that the front passenger airbag of certain 2003 to 2008 Corolla and 2005 to 2008 Matrix vehicles may not inflate properly, increasing the risk of injury in a crash. It's unclear if there were any reports of accidents or injuries linked to the latest recall. Dealers will replace the defective front passenger airbag for free, and owners will receive first-class mail notification by the end of October, Toyota said. Takata's inflators prompted the largest recall of global automotive history, forcing 19 automakers to recall some 100 million airbags worldwide. At least 24 deaths and about 290 injuries globally have been linked to the inflators, which can explode and send shrapnel into the vehicle. U.S. automakers and regulators have been working for years to get all defective airbags recalled and replaced. This recall is about a new and different issue where the airbag may not deploy as designed in certain vehicles that received a remedy as part of the previous Takata recall, Toyota said in a release. Wow. Well, that's it for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and as always, may the wind be at your back as you cruise down life's highways.
We here at OCTV cover the local events and government meetings of Oxford, Addison, and Leonard. We also produce and edit programs for you viewers out there. With the leadership of our station manager, Bill Service, we have been a very successful team, winning awards from the state of Michigan for Best Electronic Media, giving attention to our local veterans. We also won awards for excellence in directing and educational programs. With the help of our great new equipment and our technical directors, we write, produce, and broadcast our local news for you. Without our production manager, Terry Stiles, our channel and station wouldn't be the well-oiled machine it is today. She coordinates the editing assignments and shoot schedule with our editors and camera people. OCTV and its communities make a great team.